don't think anybody else needs to sign it. Where's that?
Brings you of the ceiling.
Yeah, yeah, it's the ceiling.
Oh, God.
There we go.
Okay. So July 8th, 2024, I'd like to call this meeting of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board to order. And Audrey, you have some preliminary comments.
Right. This meeting is being telecasted over our YouTube channel. We do have the right to mute people at our discretion if you do become a distraction during the meeting. We do ask those that are present and part of the meeting to have their video on during the meeting and be able to discuss at times throughout the meeting. Those that want to comment at certain times in the meeting, we do ask you to raise your hand at that point. And then we'll call on you, and then you'll have your time to talk. And I'll turn it back over to John.
First item on the agenda is approval of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board minutes for June 10th, 2024. Are there any comments?
I have a comment. In my notes from last week or last month, Lee pointed out that the golf tournament fees on Juneteenth were unexpectedly holiday fees, which he wasn't expecting. And I just noticed that since Marilyn's comments were in there, his comments weren't, I thought it should be added to the meeting minutes, please.
Yep, I will get those added.
Okay. Right. Any other comments? Motion to approve?
I move that they be approved.
Okay. And,
With the addendum.
As amended. As amended.
and did we get a second on that?
A second.
Okay, Val. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes in June 10th as amended. Let's see, anybody opposed? All in favor? Yeah, just raise your hand. Good, okay. Next, we have public comment. Do we have?
We don't have any public comment.
No.
Unless you're a reporter, I didn't think we had.
There was a citizen on screen.
No, she's
part of the
pool consulting team.
Okay, then let's go to regular agenda item number 1, getting to know the department series, District 1, Event Golf Course staff presentation.
Thank you. we're getting it set up here. I'm trying to figure out where my from current slide. There we go. All right. Okay. There you go, sir. Oh, whoops, I moved ahead. Well,
Scroll back.
there you go. Well, it's all right. Yeah. Hi, I'm Darren Pearson, Park Operation Manager of District 1, and thank you for just allowing us, I guess. If Lindsay, you set all this up, but thanks, I think a couple months ago. And okay. And yeah, anyway, but thank you. I brought along Rod Croucher, and he is one of our supervisors. He's been with the city for 32 years and many jobs. Rod, you've worked in the horticulture department, the forestry department.
Yeah, here.
And then how long have you been on the west side of town? 9 years? 9, yeah. So, but yeah, anyway, and then I want to also give thanks to Rod Hoffer. I think he's been with the city almost 30 years too. He's one of our supervisors. And then Heath Bowman, he's our golf course superintendent. And then also Greg Danovic, our golf pro. So those are Rod, and then another Rod, and then Greg and Heath. There are 4 supervisors under me that kind of make the whole operations go in District 1. We'll kind of give an overview of District 1. Feel free to, we can answer or ask any questions, and hopefully Rod and I can answer them, or Mark, or if somebody can. So you said, well, you can use your, now. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so on this screen here, many of you maybe have seen this map that's on the left-hand side. but it's right behind everybody on the bulletin board. And, but I didn't know if, you know, maybe you have never paid attention to it or whatever, but, as we say, we're split now into 2 districts into the city, park districts. And so District 1, our main shop is located out at the youth sports complex. So it's kind of at the end of the road. There's a big red building there. If you've ever been on the bike path and that and gone past the Soccer Diamonds or the Lawrence Arboretum. So that's kind of where my office is, and Rod's also out of there. And Mark won't let me over at the golf course, or I'd probably be playing golf all the time, but with Lee, no. But so yeah, I've been there since 2011. I started in 2011 with the city. Before that, I was at Albemarle Country Club for 19 years, and which is the Jayhawk Club now, if anybody here in town. So golf is definitely my background, and but I've come to enjoy and love the park system more than I could ever imagine, and it's just unbelievable. I can't believe it's the total dream job, which I thought I had the dream job before, just managing a golf course, but I absolutely love doing what I do. And so let me just show you kind of, if you can see in that map, there's the little green areas. So in our district, we have 34 parks, and it covers 2,362 acres. Big of it, as you can see, is the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, which is then our lease agreement with the Corps of Engineers, and that's over 1,600 acres, or 1,600, I think. They've updated it. Somebody.
Well, you got to.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe I don't want to admit. And so, but out of those 34, 7 of them are future parks. So if you kind of would see and you'd look on there, but out of these future parks, we're still kind of, we maintain, it might be once a year mow, and, you know, just to knock everything down and that, we're still kind of seeing those areas. So we are maintaining, we're on the property and all that. So out of this district, we have our day-to-day operations. So we have Eagle Bend, it's open every day. But also we have 21 baseball and softball fields. So it's constant. We have 5 football fields. Luckily on the 5 football fields, it's only in the fall, but we're still maintaining, mowing them, you know, as it goes. We have 15 soccer fields, and then we have 36 roundabouts. So remember that. 13 acres of landscape areas that we take care of on the west side of town. 83 acres of just city right-of-ways that we have to, you know, maintain. And then just under 36, Rod, we counted it up today on GIS with the help of our guys up at GIS, 36.2 miles of trails. So that's not only just our concrete paths, but also we have a lot of asphalt millings paths. We have the golf course. So these are the ones that we're working on behind Rock Chalk Park. You know, we have the ag line or asphalt millings there. Over the dog park, we have asphalt millings and ag lime. So we have a lot of paths that we do, but they're just not all there. I was trying to think coming in, Rod, I don't know if we have any like mulch. I don't think any over on our side, but so mainly it's those 3 materials that we have. So if you look on the right, that is then our kind of our snow routes. We just say on trails. I thought it'd be kind of, we have these up in my conference room out at the shop. And if you look on the red, you can see those are all 10-foot, right, Rod? Those are 10-foot wide sidewalks. And those are what, you know, John, if you're biking, you know, and you see, so we go from 31st in Michigan out by Broken Arrow. And if you would swoop around the bottom side on that SLT, we go all the way up to the turnpike. I mean, that's just one big continuous route. So when it snows, I mean, you literally can put 2 guys on it. One starts to go up to the north, another one goes out the east, and they come back. But you can see Clinton Parkway, it's on both. Yeah, it's a little bit thicker right in the middle of that. And you can see how it's a little thicker. Well, we got to go on both sides. You know, it's a 10-foot on both sides and that. So that kind of just shows you a little bit over that and just how much that we have to do. Rod, I didn't go. There we go. So I thought we'd talk about just the baseball field maintenance, softball field maintenance. Again, it's a daily operation, pretty much this year from March 1 until then it would end October 31st. I mean, it's every day we're getting fields ready. I thought we'd talk about the adult softball complex, adult sports first. And I just did from this year, from Rod ran them from March 31st to then July 1st. So kind of just cut it off. So already this year we've had 392 games at Clinton Lake Softball Complex. Sand volleyball, we're getting sand volleyball ready March 31st to July 1st, and now they're playing on 4 courts. They play 2 at Holcomb and 2 at Dab Perry now. And we've had 70 games played, and they're just playing Thursday and Sunday evenings. And then we're also doing Ultimate Frisbee. They play that on on football 4 and 5, and that's on Monday evenings. The youth sports baseball, the same time frame. It's just April 8th to July 1st. We've played just under 399 games. I said, we can play 400, but yeah. Practices, though, we've had on Broken Arrow 1 and 2. I don't know if you ever knew there was a diamond in the back, east. But just at those 2, we've had 128 practices there. And at Holcomb and YSC, we've done 980 practices already. That's just the beginning of this year, from March 1st to July 1st. I'm sure Lee, you probably have seen more numbers than that, but we didn't compare it to other years, but it kind of amazes you when you sit there and you kind of think, oh, look, how many we've done. So not only, I kind of throwing in these a little bit, but not only we're doing the chalking as you would saw on that first page, but we're having to mow them 3 to 4 times a week this spring. And now this rain, we're not used to this rain in July. We're really mowing. And that. But I thought, let's go outside user tournaments. We've had 4 outside user group tournaments. They range from 52 teams to 66 teams. So we've had really good outside participation already this year. And then let's go soccer. We've had 186 practice reservations with BVB and SKV, just those right now. And then they've had 80 games scheduled on that. The Lawrence Youth Football in the fall, and this is previous year in 2023. So, they play 25 games, and on the 5 football fields, they do 8 weeks. So they do over 200 games in just those 8 weeks. They have over 1,200 participants last year. Their numbers, I think what I've heard from Brett and the guys, they're really growing. And that's just from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. That is a small window, but they crank it out in the fall, those 8 weeks. They also do 2 football tournaments at the end of the year, and that had 35 to 50 teams on each of those tournaments. And then I know I'm going to blow you up on these numbers. One more number, and then I'm lying. One more, Fall Valley Kickball. They've played 144 games, and they've had 540 participants in that, and that's 9 weeks, 16 games played a week. 36-team league. I think it's just great how much our participation. Now we're getting into some pretty pictures, right? Rod wanted to send me some other different pictures on the left on the toilet, but every day we're cleaning toilets. We're cleaning the bathrooms, we're washing them out. Joe right here is a student at KU. This is his 2nd year with us, and Rod, you can attest. He's got the greatest temperament for this in the world. He goes around, he starts at 7 a.m. and he pulls back in at 3 o'clock. He's constant. He runs a trash truck. Never complains. Greatest guy there is. You can see he's smiling, but we're taking a picture of him. But I'll tell you what, he's a jewel, and we're going to lose him because he's going to graduate. But, the shelters and bathrooms, we do 7 shelters daily in our area. We've had over 200 reservations. It's 200 reservations for 2024 that are scheduled so far. That's already went up. We took these back in the end of June. So we have Holcomb Shelter, we have Broken Arrow Shelter, and we only reserve our new one that's been enclosed. Dab Perry North and West, the Arboretum, Outlet Park East and West. And, you know, these are from April 20th through October 30th. But again, they're daily, clean daily, you know, we're checking them, putting up the cards and that. But you can see when the youth sports complex alone will run our trash truck. This is just a flatbed. We run the trash out there. It is amazing how much trash they tailgate, you know, for the football. When football's out there with soccer, we'll heap that over there. This is a Monday morning, and it's amazing the trash that we collect. So I thought, let's talk about now different mowers you can see here, but this is mainly for our trail mowing and that. So the mower on the left is just a 5000 series tractor. It's got a big bat wing behind it. That mows all those trails that I told you about. And does anybody remember how many trails we had? 36.2 miles. Remember that? 36.2 miles, that tractor there is running that the whole time. It never stops. The one in the middle, we'll talk a little bit later, but he's mowing big areas, and that's where I said like the 7 parks that we, you know, that we would just mow down once a year. So that's kind of right there. He's just mowing it down. The trees won't come up. He's keeping it clean. And that mower runs a lot. The mower on the right is, we call it a tiger mower, but that arm will reach 20 some feet, doesn't it? A little over 20 feet. This is our new mower. I think it's the third season. Unbelievable mower, but that one there goes all over the city and does right-of-ways. He come in the other day at 4 in the morning. He's at 6 in Iowa, and he's going over the guardrail at 6 in Iowa, right over there over McDonald Drive. So you probably don't see him a lot of times, but he's mowing stuff all the time. That's Rowan Green, our former supervisor that was on the east side of town. It was in my job on the east side of town. So we recruited him in there. So, you know, we're constantly doing that. These never stop. And so you can see trails here. We're cleaning up after the rain here. Just different types of trails. This is over at the Mud Run right here. It's an asphalt millings path. You can see the dog there. It was through a bridge, just a huge improvement. The one up on the right is just a constant area. The mud slides down, so we have to go out there with the shovels, clean that up. Up here, this is the one on the bottom right is from Rock Chalk Park, and it's up at the very top of the hill. And so it's just an asphalt millings path. I thought I'd just kind of show you the difference, you know, on that. But, and there's one more here. This just happened. This is behind Rock Chalk Park. You know, it's, if you look on the one on the right, and you can see the open field, Queens Road, where it's gravel, is right behind you, kind of show you kind of where you're at. The heavy rains. I mean, this was after the 4-inch rain that we had, and we haven't got the estimate yet on how to repair that. Yeah, anyway. But I also just want to throw you a couple of other numbers at you. We have 11 playgrounds to maintain over on our side of town. The medians on Bob Billings Parkway, you might, when you're driving that, you think, you know, next time you drive it, think, I wonder how many miles there is just of medians that right here on Bob Billings. Well, after Rod took it, we added it up, 1.84 miles of medians on Bob Billings. There's 3.5 miles on Clinton Parkway, 2 miles on Lawrence Avenue to Princeton Boulevard, 2.5 miles on Castle Drive. And now we have Queens Road, and that's 0.66 miles. So on these here, these roundabouts, we treat them just like a park. We go in, we seed. We go in, we have to tree trim. We have to water all the trees with our water truck. So, you know, you start adding it up, and so we have, when it's hot, we have a person just out there watering every tree. I mean, Rod will go out once a year, hopefully it's just once a year, and trim the trees. I mean, and so we do have some native trails that we maintain at the Victor and Nature Park and the Mud Run, but we've kind of talked about that. And so, but you can kind of doing the quick, we're mulching and watering. And I thought, well, let's kind of figure out how many landscape areas and turf areas. Well, we do the indoor aquatic center on our side of town, Sportsville and Lawrence, the new police station, as we call it, and then we have the old police station. We do the new central transit station, the new bus station there on Bob Billings. The corner of 23rd and Iowa, where Freddy's is, Verizon, KU, CVS. And so, you know, again, we're spraying, reseeding the turf, watering the trees and shrubs, and then weeding and mulching beds. So we're only about 10 minutes into this. I got about an hour left. So I'm just joking. This was something I worked with Porter before he came down here. I thought, let's show this off a little bit. I really enjoyed this. You know, we planted trees around the art structure out at the new police station. It turned out great. The eye, I mean, I love it. And if you've ever have not been by there at night, you know, it's really cool. Stay there about 10 minutes and just see the different colors. Stand right in the middle and just watch it. It's beautiful. But, and then I thought, let's talk a little bit about our native grass areas. The picture on the left is at the Mutt Run. That was a fall burn. We burned in the fall, trying to help for the Sericius lespedeza weed, and it burns a little slower in the fall. It's green. Here in the middle, that's actually on Clinton Parkway. You probably can tell, and the one on the right is also on Clinton Parkway. If you've ever seen the buffalo did not get hurt in this picture. I just wanted to clarify. So I thought, okay, you know, now we'll talk about Eagle Bend Golf Course. Eagle Bend Golf Course, this is our new entrance, and if you've seen it, but just different areas of some stamped concrete that we've done and kind of cleans this area up. The building on the right that's in the top right-hand picture, if you remember, that used to be our car barn, and back in the day. And so we worked with Eileen Horn, Mark, maybe right after I started, 2012. We were like, we had gas parts at that time. We're like, hey, we got to get electric golf carts out here. So what do? Well, we didn't realize you had to have a ventilation system and, you know, and then a lot of stuff to do that. So that was our cart barn on the right. Well, at that time, you know, I mean, it just eroded. We washed away, and it had ate out that asphalt right in the middle. Well, then the building on the right now, that's where our current pro shop is. And our old buildings are snack bar area and everything. And then on the back side of that building is where the Kansas Golf Association, you know, they lease that ground, or they lease 4 offices from us. And this is their 6th year, I believe, in that. And it's just fantastic partnership with them. I'll show you kind of some tournaments. In their contract, they kind of have some tournaments with us, some preset tournaments all the time. We're negotiating with them. In 2026, we're going to host the Kansas Junior Amateur. So it'll be our 3rd time hosting that. And so it's really neat. And we just got done hosting 2 weeks ago the Kansas 4-ball participants from all over the state here and having their championship. But I thought first, let's go through some pictures. I'm a grass guy. I'm, you know, a grass nerd. And I thought, well, I'm going to educate you a little bit. So the picture on the left, we change hole locations almost daily, even in the wintertime. We kind of do a number. If we have, you know, 50 to 75 golfers in the wintertime and it's not frozen, we're going to still go out there and move the hole locations. The one on the right, or in the middle, I'm sorry, is us mowing greens. And we have a walker and a rider, but predominantly we try to ride mow our greens. We still do them in December, January, and February if we can. If the greens aren't frozen, we're going to go out there and the greens are always constantly still growing. Evelyn there on the right, she's taking moisture readings in the green. So this is called a TDR. It's got little prongs about 2 inches on. There's 2 of them, and it looks like a fork. And she'll stick that in there, and she'll have a piece of paper, and she'll map areas of the green. Then she'll go back and she'll water it. So every morning after they mow and change cups, then she's going to run that through. We have 3 of them, and they're constantly running through. And what they're going to do is we like to have certain percentage of the moisture in the green. Let's just say if it's over 20%, we don't need a water. If it's getting less than 20%, then we'll go out there and supplement it with hand water. And so that's a great tool right there. It really helps us not just having to run our overheads every night. We can really just isolate exactly right where we want that. The picture on the left is just us mowing fairways. The picture in the middle is Naomi mowing green banks. She was on her way, and then it's a T-mower on the right. So they're all at different heights of cut. So the one on our fairway mower is at, we'll just say it's like 9/16 of an inch. So if you ever got a drill bit and you figure, well, so you were mowing like that. Our greens are mowed at 0.100, so it's really small. That's mowing, the red one's mowing at 3 inches. That's about what you would mow your yard. The one on the right's probably, at that time, it's a 1/2 inch, so it's a little bit tighter. It's all for playability. The one on the left here is we're raking bunkers. Right now they're edging the bunker, so they'll go with a shovel, cut all the way around here. They'll pick that up, and then they'll rake that bunker with a machine. They have to hand rake on the upslope. The machine won't get it. Then we're constantly mowing trails. These are done almost every day. The bunkers, everything that I've set up today is, it's every day. It's just constant occurrence. This here on the left is it's a roller. And so we're rolling the greens. So some days we don't have to get the mower out there. We can go and we can roll it. It will act like us mowing, but we're not cutting off the blade of grass. So you imagine, so it doesn't put as much stress on it. So we just go and we roll, then it acts like we're mowing. It kind of compacts it down and that. And then this was from green number 7 when we rebuilt it. I don't know if anybody ever remembers the green sits sideways and it was tucked into the trees. And then we moved it out here. This was right after we sodded that whole green. And here we are mowing it. Our fairways are a warm season grass. This is a fairway. It's called Zoysia, Coysia. And this just has transformed Eagle Bend. If the zoysia grass stays alive in the summer, it makes it through. So everything we do, no matter if we're on a soccer field or whatever, we are trying to make it through our Kansas summers. So we want to go through, we got to train our grass, even if it's in December, January. We're going to make sure we live through June, July, August. We got to make through those 90 days. Then September comes, Labor Day, our nights, we lose 90 minutes of sunlight, and then we can kind of decrease and put things to start going to bed. But that's here. This is going to be in June. We air fire our fairways. We grind at the plugs, we'll drag them, and then it's a great play. Here I just thought, well, we're fertilizing greens, and I thought, well, I'll take a picture of that. So here we are. Luckily, Heath at the golf course and Rod both used to be on the forestry crew, and they know how to run this boom truck. And probably for them, it's probably not lucky, but for us, it's great. So here, this is on hole 16, old 7 right now. And John, if you see, and Lee, these trees, well, when we were shooting the irrigation on it, the irrigation was actually hitting the trees and it wasn't going. So Heath went in there, and so we trimmed up those trees. Also, we can say it's for the golfers too, so they can get their ball under it, but it was really for the irrigation.
Still can't get it.
Yeah, and you still can't get around it right. But if you can see the non-golfers here in the group, you're out here and it's really a hard shot. The green sits behind these trees and it's a really tough hole. The wind blows from left to right most of the time out there, so then it really pushes you to the right or then behind these trees. I thought, well, let's just get a finished product here. This is hole 18. It's a beautiful fairway. This is all zoysia grass. And then you can see that red mower on our slides before. That's what does that mowing here on the left and the right. And then here's some bunkers up there. So here's our renovated pro shop that we did a few years ago. Ryan's checking in some customers. And this is up to date. If you really like that blue and pink shirt, please go out there. And then, or if you need some golf balls out there. So I thought, hey, let's go through some numbers one more time, and then we'll talk about the arboretum here. But this is really cool on how much participation is up at Eagle Bend. Women's, we've got 32 women in our league. We've never had this many. Senior league, and Lee, I know you play in it, John, I don't know if you do, but we've got 142. It's a record number that we've ever had on our senior leagues on Mondays. Men's leagues are Thursday nights, we have 92 players. So these are all participations just from, and they're constant. It's every week. So Mondays is senior, Wednesdays is women's, and then the men's league is on Thursday. Junior golf this summer, we've got 104 participants. It's the most since we've had since 2014. So for 10 years, I mean, it's fantastic. I thought then, hey, so we are the home golf course for Lawrence High, girls and boys, Free State girls and boys, Veritas girls and boys, and Baldwin girls and boys. So we're the home of 4 schools. Santa Fe Trail comes up a lot. They don't have a practice green at their golf course. So they'll come up some, and we'll see them out there in the evening, but they just play for free, you know, on the putting green. We're also the home for 3 universities. We have Haskell University, Ottawa University, and then Baker comes up and plays. So, you know, it's constantly in the evenings. Our driving range, good thing we have a big driving range and a tee. It's not big enough, but we need a bigger one. But I thought, you know, then we have some local charities, some main ones that are really staples in this town. We have the Kansas University Audio Reader, Cottonwood Incorporated, Greenbush Education, the Eudora School Foundation, the KU Pharmacy, the Lawrence Memorial Fundraiser Tournament, and then the KU alumni. I mean, these are constant every year that are out there. We just got done hosting the U.S. Women's Amateur Qualifier. So they had 80 participants, and only three girls got to go get to qualify out of this. And they shot 68, 4 under par, and 69. I mean, they played some golf that day, and it was awesome. And so now they get to qualify for these 3 ladies that made it here. Then they go to the National Women's Amateur. So it was really cool. A couple weeks ago, Lee might have worked there. There was a PGA drive, chip, and putt in the Midwest on the driving range. This is for juniors 7 and 4. They qualify. They try to hit the ball as far as they can. They make a long putt, and then they do a chip. And then if you go to next April, when it's they're at the Augusta National at the Masters, the day before the Masters start, these qualifiers then go to Augusta, and then they compete in this ages 7 to 14. It's always on the Golf Channel. It's really cool, and if you ever watch it, watch 7-year-olds swing and hit it farther than we do. It's incredible. But the Kansas Senior Series, we host 2 events: Kansas 4-ball championship we just had, Kansas Amateur Qualifier, and the Kansas Cup Championship. We'll host that this fall. But I said to Ryan and Greg, I said, you know, what was our participation? I mean, it's just going crazy out there. So we just did rounds, clinics, lessons, driving range, and then our short game practice facility. We had just under 58,000 people were out there last year. I mean, just on rounds and that. This year we're projected 63,000. So golf is blowing up. I've never seen it. I've been in golf business since, well, in 1988. I have never seen it like this, and it is so cool to see how golf is just blowing up. COVID had a lot to do with it. COVID blew up a lot of our outdoor sports, trails, bike usage, you know, soccer, that. But golf, it really did blow it up. So I'm winding it up. Trust me.
Before you do that, can you answer the question about water? I know originally we were paying for treated water, I think, and that was very expensive.
Yeah.
Has that changed?
No, we're hoping this is our last year, I would say, on the paying for the water. It's an internal fee. And then we are hoping that it's on the CIP list, that they will hook us into the 36-inch raw water line that's right by my shop. Then we'll pump that underneath the Wakarusa and then pump it into our pond. When we do that, it will be fantastic, and then we won't have that fee anymore. Yeah. So that is our goal. That I believe that's getting ready to go out for bid. I think they were struggling with a floodplain permit with John, but I think it's getting really close to going out for bid.
What about your staff in the summer? I mean, I mean, more
like how many more people do we have? The golf course, now we have a lot of part-timers,
Yeah.
being our marshals and that, but I think, Heath will run about 20 on the maintenance crew. We have 4 full-timers, that's counting Heath as the golf course superintendent, and then he has 3 full-timers, and we have Greg and Ryan. So we have 6 full-time employees there at the golf course, and they'll run about 40 to 50. A lot of guys might only work 2 hours, pulling out carts, and some might work 8 hours.
What about just general parks and rec, your parks?
In our parks and rec, Rod, you have 4, and I think
3 seasonals,
well, you have 3.
and 3 seasonal, 2 full-time people.
2 full-time people. One of them that's on the chopping block. So how's that? I'll just say that.
Do you hire a lot of summer help?
No. I mean, we would love to hire more. It's just our budget. Yeah, we hire. You have 4 full-time or part-timers, right?
Yeah.
And then Rod has 6 over on the ball field side. So we're very limited. We have a lot of acres to cover, and we have 10 over there, and then the golf course I know is about 50, I would say, off and on. But that's about 20 and 25. I mean, maybe that doesn't add up, but I mean 45 to 50. So we have 3 Rotary groups in town. Okay, and so Rod, can you help me name them?
At the breakfast, the noon, and there's a morning action. Our central.
The Central, the Breakfast Optimist is probably the largest. And then there's a noon one that meets over Lawrence Country Club. And then the Central meets, they both, I guess, meet the same place as the Breakfast. So but I don't know if, very many of you have been out to the Arboretum. It's just a beautiful, beautiful place. If you were ever wanted to train, to teach somebody how to ride a bicycle, perfect place. I swear, both my daughters, because I live out in the country on a gravel road, this was perfect. And so, the Arboretum has 30 different varieties of trees. Okay, we have over 300 trees. And I'm going to show you something here, and then I'm wrapping it up. But as I keep telling you that, this is a perfect place if you ever wanted to go and plant a tree in your yard. Okay, and you wanted to see how it makes it in Lawrence, Kansas. Come out here, and I'll show you. There's a website. I'm going to show you how you can get on that website here in a minute. You can look up that tree. And then you can say, man, this bur oak, I can plant this in my yard. It's going to make it in Lawrence, Kansas. There's a lot of varieties we've all planted that does not make our heat. So this is a perfect place. This is, we call this, the pond on the left is the Upper Arboretum Pond. We just installed this bridge by the donation, and we have a waterfall here. This one here is the larger, lower pond, but we have 2 fountains now. It's cleaned up our ponds just tremendously. Here's another picture of it here on the left, and then there. And then, Rod, do you want to talk quickly about this? Is just 2 volunteers. We had 5 volunteer groups come out and help us plant flowers last year. So that's a group on the left. Do you recall who it was, Rod?
These groups out here, all the different Rotary clubs come together, volunteer and do it all.
So we have one lady, and then she kind of coordinates and gets them all here. This on the right is a native plant area that we kind of worked with them last year with Chuck Blazer and trying to work with them, this is close to where the old batting cages was, if you kind of were out up there. And if you could go out there and kind of see this area right here. Oops.
So the city maintains it?
The city, yeah, we maintain that. Rod and Kenneth.
What's the role of the Rotary clubs then?
That's a good question. They fund a lot, but okay, you give me that. I'm giving you the thanks. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Was that just a slide that you were?
Yeah. We go where you on the webpage so that we can kind of talk.
Sorry.
So in your free time, with Charles, the help of Charles Myers here, and it works on our GIS, and then Rod Croucher, and then Paul Lyons that works out at Sports Pavilion Lawrence. We went out and we've identified, this is a webpage. Could you maybe send that out to all of them, this link later on? And so this was always kind of a dream of Rod, and we just did it all on a piece of paper before. And we're like, hey, what about this tree right here? See this tree? And we're like, well, how could I, if you were in California and you donated some money for your tree for your dad, and you're like, well, where's that tree at? Well, now you can search for it, you can find it, and let me just kind of go through. So you can click on this here, and you can say, oh, that's a bur oak. Well, it was dedicated to Bob Billings, so I used to work for. Trunk diameter is 8 inches, the tree height's 30 feet, the canopy is spread out 21 feet. Now you can go down here, and then you can look here, and then you can actually even see the monument. So we went in there with our GPS units, and we've collected all this data. This is, can you see where you shut that down? So, right now? Well, I want to shut that, close it, not close it down, it's up here, just stop sharing. Okay, oops, no, I stopped sharing. Okay, well, how do you get back? You phone here.
Yeah, you
Sure. Well, now you need the link.
I need the link and I closed it. Okay.
That's all right. I guess I'm done then, but anyway, we'll send that link out. It's really cool. You can also see the name for it, anything else, Rod. All 300 trees are marked out there. It's really cool. And like I said, again, if you knew somebody that came up to you and said, where's the tree that we bought for Leon's? Well, you can, literally, you can go on there, search for it. You can kind of see it. I hope someday that we will be able to use your GPS on your phone, that you can go and you can literally it can track you off that map. I mean, that's what we're working on. And then you can just go, oh, here's that tree for Bob Billings. It's right, I'm right by it. And then you can go. I think it's really cool, Rod. We have spent a lot of time on it. I think I'm not saying we perfected it, but that first part we have.
Accessible now.
Yeah, and you can go right on its story. We'll send you the link. Okay. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I got it.
Sure. And it's really, really cool. And I'm so proud of that. I mean, and like I said, with the groups of the Rotary groups, I mean, they just love it. And now they can see where all their trees are and everything. So I'll open up to any questions. I know I've taken a lot of your time, and I'm sorry, but it's been a privilege for me to come and talk to you guys. And anytime, shoot me an email. Anytime you have a question or something on the trail, not on a trail, I'll send it to Rod and he'll clean it up. So
I will say too that before and after you came from Alabama made a big difference in Eagle Dam.
Well,
I mean, we can tell.
Yeah,
it was clear.
Yeah, well, thank you, and I mean, and I can still remember sitting in the interview, and I asked Mark and Ernie. I said, "What's your goal?" And Roger was one of them. I mean, I remember at the beginning, "What's your goal?" We want to make this the best golf course, in the Midwest, and I believe it, and we're still working for it. Yeah. But thank you, John. Yeah. So. Good job.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Thanks, Ryan. Thank you, yeah.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very much. Okay, let's move on to the next item.
John, we were talking about maybe in item 4 up to number 2, if everybody's agreeable to that.
Yeah, let's do it. So item 4 is update on outdoor aquatic center renovation project.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
And a slideshow. Oh, heck, sorry. Oh, okay, those. All right, sorry. Just getting this thing put back together. Right? Or did you need to introduce everything first, I guess?
Sure, yeah. No, this is Jeff Bartley from Water's Edge Aquatic Design. And so he's part of our consultant group for the Outdoor Aquatic Center renovation. So we've asked them to come and kind of provide an update on where we're at in the process and I'll let Jeff take it away.
Great, thank you. Again, my name is Jeff. I'm an engineer with Water's Edge Aquatic Design. We're a company that specializes in planning and design aquatic centers across the country. I'm representing one of many people on the consultant team. The team is actually being led by SFS Architecture of Kansas City, and I think Allison is on the line right now, as well as Virio, who is the consultant who specializes in the community engagement portion of this. And I think that Jamaica is online presenting them as well. So we have a few slides to help give you an update kind of where things stand with this, and I'll go forward on that. So a little summary of the project. It was prioritized, before my involvement, it was prioritized in the CIP. And the work began early 2024, and the main crux of this study is to assess the existing conditions, to engage with the community and find out what the community would like to see with the Aquatic Center. And then from that assessment and the engagement, to come forward with a plan to rejuvenate and refresh the Aquatic Center. So beyond this, we're in the study portion of that, so we're still developing the right plan and budget for it. Once that's established and the City Council has accepted that, we move forward to the next phases, which includes developing detailed construction drawings and putting the project out for bid and having it constructed.
Good catch. Yeah, it wasn't.
That's what I was asking. Yeah, sorry, my bad. I wondered why I was asking.
You need to take it to,
Oh, yeah, sorry. Then, yeah, just go from current slide. All right, from current slide. There you go. Sorry, there you go. So those are the next steps in the process. We are working with a budget. We have budget established for this project. We're working within that budget. So everything, all the planning, everything we're doing is with intent to stay in the $6.1 million budget. And this is a kind of a breakdown where the big buckets of money goes for this project. Right now, of the 6.1 million, 4.2 million is allocated towards doing stuff with the pool and deck. We have a $500,000 budget for renovating or redoing the bathhouse. And then those are actual dollars that go into construction. There are other project costs that go with this. There's contingency in there so that we don't get into bid day and we find ourselves upside down on the bids. And then there are other fees that go with professional fees, groups like us that are helping, along with some of the other things, geotech investigation, surveying, some fixtures that the Parks Department would buy directly. So in this planning process, we started in April, kicked it off. We were identifying what the issues are, things that we need to address. We had an initial first round with the public to find out what the community is interested in for the Aquatic Center and what their current perceptions are. That moved into the conceptual portion of the project where we took those initial thoughts from the community and started to develop some concept ideas, what might facilitate those interests. And then with that was another round of public engagement, meetings and survey. And then now we're in the final part of it, this study, which is developing those preferred. They are finding that concept plan and working towards a final plan that fits in the budget. And we are in the midst currently of third round of public engagement, which includes a survey, online survey. If you haven't seen that, you can go see that.
When's the city commission work session scheduled?
I forget the exact date, but it's coming up in August. Is it, do you remember the exact date?
Have it in front of me, sorry.
I think it's one of the slides later.
Okay, great. So a quick snapshot of the Aquatic Center now. It's called renovated in 1995, but actually the pool basin itself was entirely new along with the bathhouse. It included initially 2 water slides, the zero depth entry area that you see, up here, so shallow water coming down into the 50-meter lap pool with 25 yards going across lanes, the diving portion here, and then a separate plunge pool that received the 2 water slides. Since then, one of the water slides has aged out and been removed. The pool obviously, accommodates the open swim program every day for the families and kids, but it also houses a lot of other programs, including camps. We just met the other day with many of your staff, camp directors, and very active participation for camps at the pool. So first part of it, assessing condition of it. We reviewed all structural parts and systems of the facility, building to pool structure, deck, et cetera. And we were, after that initial assessment, we were worried about what we saw with the pool structure. So we decided collectively, this group, we decided to do core sampling from the pool basin to get a better idea or understanding of that physical condition. And then these are photos. I was the one directing that portion of it, the concerns over the pool. And I noticed a lot of this cracking that you can see in the basin that parallels various seams. We highlighted those areas, or at least where they were more prevalent, and you can see the shaded areas of the pool where we found that. So then when we took cores from it, they actually came in with a core saw and punched through the floor, took these cores. Some areas looked great. Like this is one of the cores that came out through the floor. Looks in great condition. Other areas where we saw the cracking, it came out with pieces, and you can see those cracks throughout the depth of it. And those lined up with those areas where we saw the cracking from the surface. So with that, we became concerned about the longevity of the aquatic center. So one of the things we decided in the concept plans that you'll see is that we would remove the worst parts of the existing pool and consolidate the existing pool down to a lap pool and deep diving basin that we thought could be patched and repaired, and the area that could be extended the longest for the future, and then remove the parts that we thought wouldn't have as much of a life left in it. The other thing I forgot to mention, some of you may or may not know, this beach entry area actually is sinking, settling significantly, several inches. So if you were out there and saw water running past the gutter or flooding up on the deck, that's the reason why, is that area was settling or sinking pretty badly. Various pictures. These are just the pictures in addition to the actual pool structure, which is kind of the key part of the condition. You can see pictures of, the water slides. These are pictures of the filters on the inside, and they're at, some of that's been replaced over time. Some of it's very old, some of it's new. So there's a mixture of conditions in there. And let's see, what else? These are some pictures of the interior of the building. The building itself is structurally in pretty good shape, but definitely could use some freshening of it to make it more inviting to the guests. With that leading into that, so that $500,000 budget assigned to the bathhouse is to perform some of the deferred maintenance, to replace portions, fascia thing that are rotting, but also to refresh the finishes, paint coatings, focus on some of the drainage on the floor to make sure the floor drains well, can be cleaned. And then there are improvements to be made for privacy, help improve privacy throughout that bathroom, and then upgrade the audio system throughout. And there's some effort to improve the guest experience as they come through the admissions counter into. So a couple of summary slides on community engagement. The first public meeting, we held that downtown. We had 13 community members, and you see there's a picture of John. John attended. If anybody was wondering, there's a picture of him, but 13 community members, and they expressed their preferences in terms of the kinds of spaces, features, amenities that they would like to see, prefer to see in the aquatic center. We also did the same question in the community. We received a pretty good response, 1,650 respondents. 97% of those respondents were city residents, and the majority of those were ages 30 to 49. So we speculate or presume majority of the responses were parents, children that use the aquatic center. And these are the kind of things that they said they'd like to see in an aquatic center, including lazy river, water slides. These are the kind of the big ticket items, the more costly ones. And then in addition to that, what kind of features would you like to see? Shades, night swimming sessions, those kind of things. And then the programs, what were their favorite programs or things they'd like to see? Taking those responses and that feedback, we generated 4 different concepts to kind of test out the kinds of things that the community wanted to see, and they range from this option. And again, I guess I'll back up. Each one of these concepts, you'll see basically this lap area, which is the existing pool preserved, as well as the plunge area, and then the shallow part of that being reconstructed new. And we gave different options. One is to focus mostly on a leisure pool, option 1. Second option was intended to focus a lot on lazy river, but provide a little bit of zero depth shallow water. Third option was to provide a blend of the lazy river and the shallow water. And then the fourth option was kind of wild card, and it was, what if there wasn't a swimming pool space itself? What if it was a big wet deck with a lot of water recreation, a lot of spray, play, fun kind of stuff? So we threw that out there on the survey to find out what the community was interested in. And we learned that they really didn't like the splash pad. The big splash pad idea was clearly not a favorite. And the favorite one tended to be the blend, the mixture of the shallow leisure pool with the lazy river. So we took that feedback, funneled it down towards kind of one preferred concept. And again, it was one we called the big variety, which was intended to include as much leisure pool as we could, shallow leisure pool with lazy river. So that's the concept that we're developing now. These are still kind of in rough form, and we're refining or developing this concept as we go. And part of that is now meeting with various focus groups, user groups that would use the pool, which includes lap swimmers, competitive swimmers, your day camps, which are big users, and then there are other groups we've reached out to, and I've forgotten the
diversity, so NAACP, ADA, the name of the organization.
And we often,
Me too.
yeah, sorry to put you on the spot. We have a list of groups that we've reached out to. Typically with focus groups, we're often focusing on the user groups, people that are using the pool. We know we're using the pool. We want to foster that and make it great for them. But somebody had the great idea that trying to identify people that aren't using the pool now and reach out to them and find out why they might, what's their obstacle, why not using it, and what could be done perhaps to encourage their use. So we're in an effort to do that right now. But in this concept plan, a little more detail. So the idea on this one, bathhouse configuration remains relatively the same. So we enter through here, we're going to rework the concession stand a little bit, and then rework the concession eating area adjacent to the concession stand. And then you can see the dashed line of where the shallow end of the pool was. We're reconfiguring that, pointing the zero depth entry towards the bathhouse with some seating here, some sprays in front of it, toddler slide underneath here, a little bit of shade over the zero depth entry in the shallow water, working down as we go from zero depth entry down to about 3 to 3.5 foot deep water. So this is kind of a play area with the kids. We are including right now a shallow sun shelf, and this is a shelf that's about elevated a little bit. It's about 6-inch deep water where you can put chase lounges parents or others can sit in kind of a shallow part of the water, enjoy the pool. And then again, the lazy river that circles this space. And then on the lap pool, again, we're building a new wall, capturing the existing area, building a new wall here, making this 8 lanes, 25 meters. So it'll be set up for all those to be roped off as lanes, or they could be opened up. And certainly during open swim, a lot of those will be opened up, and this will just be, an area for kids to play. Then we're preserving the diving and the drop slide in the diving basin, and the same for the water walk or lily pad walk in this area, plus the water slide. So we're going to try to maximize the budget, have a new slide perhaps, and then bid out a second slide. And hopefully we can work 2 slides into the plan based on the bidding environment. On the north side, the current plan shows a splash pad in that location, and that splash pad can have flexible use. The idea certainly is the splash can be opened up to the park and used early in the season, so long before the swimming pool opens. It could be open to the park and use it in, say, April or May, and then it also can extend the season, so when the pool closes in August, that it can continue to operate in late August, September, et cetera. And then even during the season when the pool's open, it can be operated earlier in the day and run later in the day when the pool's not open. So that is the plan. There are various things we're doing to consider improvements to it. We talked about providing a ramp entry, say in this area. We've talked about trying to expand this area a little bit, perhaps pushing the sun shelf out a little bit to try to create some more space there, all while trying to do this without completely ruining the budget. But that's the plan. I will say that the existing pool, it's noted here, the water surface area on the existing pool is 19,000 square foot. And we were hoping, or our goal was to get back to that space with the swimming pool spaces and the splash pad or wet deck water recreation spaces, but we're shy of that with the budget as we are now. But we are doing what we can to, we'll have an extended fence perimeter. Overall, there will be good capacity in the facility, likely equal to the capacity today. It will have less water surface than it does today now.
Questions?
Except the last slide. That's not the last slide, but if you wanted to talk about the,
Sorry.
so this, we can come back to this concept if that's what you want to talk about, but we mentioned we're in the middle of third round of public engagement, and the survey, we've had the meeting and the survey is live right now to get feedback. And asking a variety of questions. We did ask, one of the interesting things we asked with the survey, with the wading pool, South Park, and the condition it's in, we've asked the community if they have another wading or splash pad in that area, would they prefer to see it more on this location or see it out located west. So we're waiting to see what the community thinks in terms of adding another splash pad into the system where they would like to see it located within the city. Anything else on that?
I might add on to that. So currently in the CIP, that the city commission, replacing the wading pool with a splash pad is an approved project. So the last time we went to the city commission, they said, well, do we really want one there, or do we want to put it out west? So that's why we added this question. So the question is, do you want one here, or would you rather have one west? I think the commissioner are a little bit split on which they prefer. So that may be a conversation tomorrow night about, hey, I'd rather go west than South Park. It all kind of ties into the outdoor pool conversation, because if we do a splash pad there, then do we need one here? So it is kind of a three-way street. So we'll see how that settles out. All options are good.
And then
Next.
Okay.
Just a question for Mark. If they don't put a splash pad in South Park, what would they do with it? we would probably just take the wading pool out and return to park space. I mean, it's basically sitting there unused this summer, so.
And it would have to be replaced to be able to use it again.
We miss that pool.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, it's really important for young families to have something that's free.
Yeah, just that it was different from a splash pad. You know, it was something where you could actually get in the water.
right.
Is the Maryland Hull board member, is the splash pad at the pool, is that concept very popular with the public?
Seems to keep hitting the top items when we survey, so.
All right, come back to, there's a, I think there was a list of, there we go. See, it made the top 6, so it wasn't the top choice, but it was in the top.
I'm Jackie Bucker. Happy that you're going to redo the speakers. That's very helpful as a master swimmer. I like that. I want to know the reasoning behind the 25 meters versus 25 yards, and if you see the pool actually being a competitive pool then, because most NCAA high school pools are yard pools, and then 50 meters are more the Olympic pools. So I'm curious why the 25 meters.
We actually started with 25 yards and then meeting with the clubs and the swim coaches. They requested we switch to the meters. So that was a request by them, and it actually increased that area a little bit, which I think is good. And for the most part, nobody's expecting to use this for competitions, but they would use it. They would use it for practice and training, but they're not expecting. I don't think any of the groups were expecting to use it for actual meets. The facility might lend itself to kind of a city program or as some kind of early kind of a swim program, but it's probably beneath the kind of the level of that club team. So I could see that occurring here, and that would be kind of a lower level competition where, you know, younger kids are going off the deck rather than starting blocks and competing at earlier ages.
And then any chance for like rental cabanas?
There is. We do show cabanas, and you know, whether those are, you know, we're showing them as kind of pocket shade structures, and their use can be flexible, and that's a choice. That would be a choice. Operational choice is using those spaces. Do you allow people to reserve them, or do you allow people to reserve them for a fee and help try to recover some of that cost of that?
And Marilyn, just to add to what Jeff said, the splash pad, you know, one of the things I asked is, what did we change? What if we had that type of a feature still, but not so prominent? The downside is that it's not a dollar for dollar exchange, right? So you don't make a smaller splash pad and get that much bigger of a water surface because of the equipment required. It's gonna take the same amount of equipment whether it's bigger or smaller. So because I also, you know, I'd like to spread as much as we can, but right now as it stands, it doesn't make the financial difference to have an impact on the remainder, right? So let's say we took away that splash pad, we wouldn't get all that surface water back because it's not a dollar for dollar exchange. So, but things for us to, it's not finalized yet. We're still getting input, so we can see where it goes. But anyway.
How do you, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to, Valerie note, is the survey still open? The third one? Okay.
The 10th?
I don't remember, but it is.
Yeah. I think the fact that the splash pads are, since we've had to limit our pool hours, are open longer is a real benefit. Longer hours and seasons, so. Because I've seen older kids, taking a toddler right now, but I see older kids there too, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd like to hear from southeast Lawrence and past the splash pad at Burroughs Creek. there was probably at least 8 or 9 kids there and various adults around. They're definitely utilized, and it's great. And especially if it is more cost effective, or you can have more of them at less cost.
I'm interested in the management plan for the splash pad during the part of the year when the outdoor pool is open. It's like it's going to be open, the public, and then it's going to be closed to the public then it's going to be reopened. You know, I'm worried about this different uses at different hours, and you know, you can communicate through social media or whatever. These are the hours that it's free. These are the hours that it, but a lot of families don't. You know, they just drive by. Oh, a splash pad. I'm still somewhat concerned that families come to this complex wanting to use the splash pad while the pool has open hours and being told they can't use it. What's the management plan?
We don't have the management plan at this point.
And we
agree,
and we understand. I mean, that's been my concern from the beginning, but we've talked through all the options. There's pros and cons. One way to look at it is it's a pool and it has a splash pad in it, which gives parents options to let the little kids go there. But then we're able to, with fencing and things like that, have it be available and open free in the mornings and the evenings and extended season. It is confusing, and I know Commissioner Larson asked that question when we presented to the commission. So I've never seen anything operated like this, so we don't have a whole lot to go off of, but we're having those discussions and nothing has been set in stone yet. We're waiting to see what the feedback is, if that's where we end up going, what makes the most sense. So we understand those thoughts because we've talked through all of the situations and all the scenarios, and there's no perfect way to do it, but we're going to try to make it work best for everybody. But again, the initial idea was to be able to extend the season and have something there.
I get that.
But I agree.
But then when it gets
what you're saying, it will be confusing.
I think we should have a management plan for it worked out before this is approved.
Yeah, it might be, this needs to be a seasonal thing, that during the pool season, as part of the pool, before or after the pool season, it's something we could keep running. That the hourly thing may be too difficult to understand for everybody. So I think that's something we could play with a little bit. You know, you hate to have it there and not using it.
It's just kind of hanging out there and not available. Yeah.
Lee Ice board member, I'm a big proponent of splash pads. I don't think the community could have enough. I think it's a neighborhood type opportunity, whether it be in North Florence, East Florence, West Florence, downtown. It's a neighborhood a place for the kids could go. It's free. You don't have to have a lifeguard. It's cost effective. And if you've ever gone to these splash pads, I mean, it's from little kids to 12-year-olds running around, and they're tremendous. You go to Hutchinson, Kansas, I think they got 4 to 6 of them. They're in every part of their community. Whether you have one at the pool here and another one here and 2 out west, and Lawrence really got away from neighborhood swimming. So I mean, we used to have the fairgrounds. We used to have the one up by Sunset Elementary School. I mean, there were neighborhood pools that you could, $25 membership for the summer, ride your bike to. But those all went away, and now we got one pool. I mean, outdoor pool. So really, the concept of the splash pads have really taken off throughout the country. So I don't think we can have enough.
Yeah. And there's always the option, and again, we haven't come up with a final decision or conclusion, but that it becomes its own splash pad, right? And not part of the pool. The issue is you have a small child and an older child, you're separated. So a lot of those things to consider. But we also see the value of splash pads. Absolutely. So appreciate that. And again, no final decisions. The questions are coming up in our mind, but until we have the final kind of direction for the concept, that's when we're going to have to dig in. And it's going to mean programming changes across the board, right? What do we do in the indoor versus in the outdoor? So it's going to have to be a little bit of a change of operational structure and ideas that we'll have to adjust because it's a different pool. know, so questions are, your question is well taken, and yeah, Lindsay, I think, is the one who's asked it the most times. How do we manage this? So
I think to go along with what Louis said, the most questions we've had is, we don't mind losing the 50 meter here, but we need 50 meter access indoor. So that's been the biggest concern point from all the swim teams, is like, we need more access there. So that's an operational thing that we need to say, okay, how can we flip these lanes on the indoor, so that, because we don't have a 50 meter practice facility outside. So I think those are all operational things we just need to look through and say, okay, yeah.
Okay, so it's getting.
yeah, so I think we move on to the next item, and that it will be as quick as possible.
Jack, I'm sorry, I do have another question, I understand time and whatnot, but, and maybe I missed something, but with what is happening then and possibly closing down the splash area here, there's no chance that that could still be preserved if there's eventual money to convert that into a splash pad?
So the survey, that's the survey question is asking right now, if it was an additional splash pad based on the concept as it stands right now, there were an additional one, would you want it here or would you want it out west? Now, what it won't be is a waiting, if that was part of your question.
Combination of all of it, because I would hate to have us take something out that might have water accessibility when we're obviously, we know splash pads are it, and that's a great way to keep kids cool as temperatures are rising. So I just don't want it to go away. If there's still a possibility that the functionality of it there could still remain.
And the reality is, if we had all the money in the world, we'd put it anyway. And the response, actually including this in the survey, was a response to commission asking, what about the wet? So it's like, okay, let's ask the question to see what the community's will and needs are. So we didn't want to make that decision, in a vacuum. So we wanted to pull that picture.
Yeah, well, thank you.
So let's move on to the next item, which is.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks.
Thanks, yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Mike.
The next item, which is the budget update.
Okay, and I will try to make this as quick as possible, and no running long, but.
Will you pull that up? Okay.
All right, so tomorrow we go, the commission meeting tomorrow is to receive the proposed budget from the city manager, which was released on Friday. This is part of that presentation, which will be on there tomorrow. What is not on here and is in the full presentation that is being provided is the decline in sales tax revenue that the city is experiencing right now. Not just the city, the state, and the region. So, in reaction to that, the city manager has asked every city department to give up certain things or a certain amount of dollars. And ours being one of the largest budgets is impacted in that manner more so than some of the smaller departments. Everybody's giving up something. There are some things built into the budget that increases the operating budget, raises, and things of that nature. So it's not necessarily a dollar for dollar decline because there was some more, and then we're taking some of the reductions. But every department is sacrificing either employees or training or something, that's related to their operations. What we're proposing, and I want to underline this, that this is not that it's so much of a moving target right now as it was. I believe, Lee, you asked last month about some of the changes. I said it's an exercise, and you can see changes from what we were proposing 2 months ago to what we're proposing now. But this still has to go through the commission. It still has to go through public hearings and public sentiment and public feedback. So this can still change, but this is what's being proposed. Our priorities are up there. I don't want to read those, but in essence, we still want to follow the comp plan and in any way we can, understanding that there may be conflicts between the comp plan and saying do this, all that have to do with money, and then, but the reality is the tax base that we operate under is declining, so the adjustments need to be made. So what we're proposing is primarily, yes.
When you say we're proposing, is it
Just the city manager's
office?
Yes,
So did you have input? in
yes,
this?
every department had input.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, so, we can, the options are, and actually, there weren't many options, it really is, we're reducing what we do in order to meet that recommendation, and the easy way to do it right now with the least amount of pain, knowing what the priorities are. So the city's priorities are infrastructure, keeping up with the demands of infrastructure, no layoffs for staff, competitive pay for staff, and the fourth one is homeless solutions and affordable housing. So those being the four priorities in this next year's budget, and one of them being no layoffs, we looked at vacant positions. So just between vacant positions, you can see up there, it's roughly, $400,000 plus in vacant positions. And those vacant positions in turn have, and part-time positions, which are not full-time positions, in turn have effects on down the road with have other impacts. So what we're trying to paint a full picture of, not just for you and the public, but also the commission, is that these reductions will be seen and felt across the city. And, I don't want to make that sound like we painted the worst picture. This was the most viable picture that we can come up with at this time. Understanding that things can still change, and, personally hopeful that it does. My intention, taking this position wasn't that we'd come and we'd be looking at, $660,000 in reductions, but we had staff input, all the way to supervisor level. And so, yes, it wasn't done in this room with just a few of us.
Just to add a little bit, basically the finance division talked with the city manager, finance gave us a target, said here, hit this target, and we need to know the service level reductions that this target reduction will cause. So in other words, if you cut that, what will the public see? So we've done that through this whole process, and we've been back and forth with the finance department, as well as every other department.
Okay, so it's not like this has been laid out.
No, and it has not been a top-down edict of what we would reduce, just the amount.
Okay.
Just the amount. So,
okay.
And what I'm not going to go into here, which you'll hear if you see the commission, is how, any increases that are planned for tax or property taxes, I'll leave that. I wanted to focus on this. So, so these are the impacts of reducing part-time hours. And again, I want to reiterate, we're not big supporters of this, but this is what we have to get behind. As making the decision, because this is really the only thing at our current reach in order to do this. Unless we close a facility totally or shut down a pool, it's small increments of reductions that have impacts. So what we're looking at, I'm going to let them talk about the impacts on the facilities and on the parks. I wanted to paint that big picture at the beginning, and I can come and wrap up at the end. But if we can keep it quick for you all.
And I was just going to say, another thing that you'll see tomorrow night with the city manager is that the balancing act tool was used to guide this. And so once those results came in, it showed us that, we had broken out all of our 11 program budgets last year when the balancing act was created, and we determined where our service levels were at. Based on the balancing act results, it basically indicated we need to go down a service level to hit our budget targets. And so we had to look at what does that mean? If you take aquatics and go down a service level, that's even cutting hours even more. That's cutting staff. That's doing this. Facilities, closing, reducing hours. And so we followed that plan because that's where the direction that the city wanted to go with, working on the budget for this process. And so it kind of helps explain why we came up with these, because we're following what and the fact of the matter is that we have to reduce service levels in order to hit this budget. We didn't have much of a choice. So yeah, the part-time staff took the biggest hit of our cuts. And that's going to have a big impact that everyone will see. And that's one thing we want to make very clear, is that we will be reducing hours of all of our rec centers. All the neighborhood rec centers and SPL, and that means the free play, the pickleball, the weights, fitness, track, volleyball, basketball, all of that will be reduced. And we haven't selected what those hours are going to be yet, but we've been looking and we've been, analyzing the data. What are the busy times? But, we do programming as well. So we have to determine what's that mix? What are those hours? Is it during the day? Is it the morning? Is it night? So we're going to have a big impact, and we're going to, it's going to affect a lot of our user groups. One thing that we will try to do is, when we do reduce those hours, which again is reducing the part-time staff, we'll have full-time staff in the building. We can start offering some reserved time for court usage. So then we'll set up, okay, if you want to come play, you can come play for your court to play basketball or pickleball or whatever it is. We're going to do everything we can to offer some use of the facility, but the free time, open walk-in is going to be reduced. And so on the rec side, that's our biggest hit.
Yeah, and so, and in looking at that, originally we proposed a fairly significant reduction that also impacted revenue. So the city manager looked at that and said, that doesn't make sense. You're cutting on one side and you're eliminating your revenue on the other side. So we put that stuff back in. So golf was going to take a much bigger hit than they are, $20,000 now. But that was going to impact revenue at 1.5 times, so that didn't really make sense. So when we're looking at facilities, we're looking at what times are these facilities not producing revenue, and then those are the hours we would target to close. So SPL's that way, all the rec centers are that way, Aquatics is that way. When are those facilities really not producing revenue and it doesn't make sense for them to be open? That's what we targeted first. On the park side, we went much more at a targeted. There's $150,000 we cut out of the park side that will basically eliminate some of our existing facilities that basically are going to have to be replaced. They can't afford to be replaced, so we're going to eliminate them. So there's quite a few playgrounds, there's quite a few shelters. Those things will just be taken out instead of budgeting to replace them. So that's a service level reduction. I anticipate these neighborhoods will not be happy with these because those are in their neighborhood parks. So, I think these will all be pretty impactful, but they're going to say, hey, wait a minute, I only have one playground over here at Park Hill, and you're going to take it out. The cost to replace that, you probably have $150,000 to replace a single playground. Does that make sense in a fairly small use park? All these parks have a small use playground, so it doesn't, investment-wise, make sense to keep pumping money into this thing. It makes more sense to just go, look, we're going to reduce our service. We no longer have those playgrounds. So that's going to be huge. The cemeteries, it's a small reduction, but we're reducing our trimming of headstones at Oak Hill. That'll have a significant impact on the appearance of the cemetery. That's only a $13,000 cut, but that's where those people are targeted to be working. So, it's kind of spread across all the areas. The pro shop reduction is fairly small. It's about a $20,000 staffing at the pro shop concessions golf course. That won't be impactful unless you're trying to get a hot dog later in the evening. There may not be open anymore. That's the kind of ideas. So the citywide landscaping, we're looking at all the roundabouts, all the things Darren talked about a little bit. We have roundabouts everywhere. There's almost 50 roundabouts. So if we can no longer afford to maintain those, we're going to start reducing the level of landscape in all of those. So we may go to a rockscape in some of these. We're building, I think there's 3 new ones going in on Walkeroo, so we just added a bunch on Queens Road. It just keeps expanding, but then we're cutting up Pearson. So something has to give. So we're going to basically start pulling some of those plants out and going, okay, this is a rock surround instead of a landscape surround. So those will not be popular either. And I think over time, people will start to go, it doesn't look as good as it used to, but it's a pinch.
So it sounds to me like the process including like the city manager's office, finance department, you guys, that there's been the kind of interaction that you are reasonably satisfied with in your discretion and so on and so forth. What role, if any, do you see for the advisory board? How can we assist you, assist the city?
Well, I think one of your roles as a board is to advocate. You know, I can't ask that you do that, but I'd say, you know, take your positions and have your will heard in what this is. You know, the reality is, unless there's a big change in the tax base, either by increasing sales tax or increasing property tax, mill levies even more, is that, you know, they have to cut something. You know, we're at that point where something else is going to have to give. And we did go through a process, the executive team, you know, the department heads, and, you know, while not everybody liked what was being proposed, we all walked out of the room saying, this is something we can live with if we have to.
Do you think that City Hall is going to be receptive to what you're proposing?
City Hall is in the commission or is in the city manager's office?
Yeah, city manager's office.
Oh, they know this is already.
Because they're going to push it further.
It's already agendized, and so, yeah, they're aware.
Okay, so if we were to weigh in, we would weigh in with the city commissioner, and we would recommend approval of or support for the proposed Parks and Rec budget. I don't want to do something that's going to work.
I think you have to read it into this a little bit as what the impact is going to be next year. And that's hard to do because you don't know what hours we're going to close the sports.
Exactly.
Who's going to be
There's some detail around it.
If anything, I would tune into, you know, you're certainly obviously welcome to do public comment tomorrow, but I would tune in at least to the questions that commissioners have, and, you know, go from there. See if they're all on board and they're saying, this sounds perfect to us and there's no questions, then, you know, but if there are those areas of concern.
Wait until we see their reaction. And that's supposed to happen tomorrow night, did you?
Tomorrow night is the proposed budget, yes. And then there's a few more meetings after that, a balanced budget or a balanced tax. And I know you have do you have a question?
I do have a question before I forget it.
Okay, no, please.
I mean, I get the sales tax shortage. but I've also read that there's going to be a mill levy increase possibly, and then doubling the 0.05 sales tax, which will come to a vote in November. So that money addition plus the reduction of everything else is going to those 4 areas that you talked about: infrastructure, homeless, affordable housing. And so all that money, is that where that's going, or
Well, I don't know the details of that. I would say a good portion of that is. The other one is to cover the deficit that of the shortage to be in. Right, if we were to continue.
And so the shortage happened because of sales tax this year for next year. And what's going to happen, I don't know what they proposed for the year after that, when you lose 6 home football games and the sales tax is even going to be less.
Well, I don't know what's the percentage. And transient guest tax, yes, it is potentially a compounding problem. That's why they want to, at this point, be conservative with our budgets, because you don't want to be dipping into the fund balance too deep. Because first of all, there's regulation, there's policies, laws as to how much the fund balance could be, so we can't dip below them. So it's intentionally conservative because we're way off of what they projected the taxes would be, and not just us projected, but what the region projected those sales taxes are going to be, and we don't know what's going to happen. So, but some of those will cover some of the mill levy, and the sales tax will cover some of those programs, but some of them are already planned even in advance.
The scary part is that what if it's not approved?
Well, it has to be approved by September.
I'm talking about the vote for the increase of the other tax. That can be approved by the community. And if it's not, then are the possibly be more cuts?
Yeah, absolutely would be more cuts.
That's another
Yeah, okay.
story for another time. Okay,
But it's
so
all-
my sense is that as an advisory board, if you need our assistance, if you see that of some value, you let us know, okay?
Yep. Again, I want to remind you, you have the right to do public comment tomorrow if you wanted to. The agenda is up, the transmittal report on the budget that comes from the city manager's up as well. So, you know, of course, exercise your rights if you wish to. So I don't want to discourage that, but I think you'll get more of the tone after the meeting and some of the questions that may come up.
Okay, then I want to say the following: if anybody does decide to go and make a public comment, I think it's important you say that you're an advisory board member, but you are not on behalf of the board. Okay? Okay.
Thank you. I think that's it in a nutshell. We
It's a
can,
big nutshell.
it is a nutshell. I know. And it's been not just on me, it's been trying 2.5 months or so, trying to figure out how do we have the least.
Well, we were trying to
impact.
figure out how to welcome you into this thing.
I would dare say that Mark's Excel skills are just have gone through the roof because so much.
There's so many spreadsheets. The other thing, just real quick, that we didn't mention is we currently have 3 vacant full-time positions that are slated to not be filled. So we'd be losing 1 full-time parks position on Darren's crew that he talked about, and then 2 rec positions. And those are big impacts, very big impacts. And so
Those programmers.
right now we have, and I'll mention this, actually, we had a couple of staff changes in my report, but we currently have a programmer position open in the sports division, so that is slated to be removed as part of this. Then we have 2 recreation operation managers. One of them, Kent Reddick, left about a month ago. And so that position is currently open. And so what we have asked if we could do is fill that position internally and keep a operations manager, but then if it's filled by a supervisor, we would lose a supervisor. And we can't say which it is because we haven't applied, we got to see who applies, who gets it. It could completely restructure our recreation division, but we wanted to try and preserve at least the manager level, and then that could funnel down from there. But either way, it's 2 positions on the rec side and 1 parks position.
Okay, let's move on to the next item, which is the comprehensive plan.
Okay, this is a really quick update. So because of the budget process, we were supposed to have the draft back to the consultants by July 5th. There was absolutely no way. So we have communicated with them and let them know that we're going to delay everything by a month, meaning that the report or the presentation we were expecting to have next month will be in August. And then we already had a preset agendized presentation to the commission on September 10th. So our hope is and that's also the day they approve the budget. So I don't know, I somehow don't want to be connected every time there's a budget conversation with Parks, but then that would be September 10th going to commission. So that is really the update at this point. We did receive the draft as scheduled on the 2nd of July, not the 2nd, whatever, in June. And we just have not had a chance. This has really taken up a lot of our time for the last few weeks. So we're just pushing things one month out. And that is it.
Okay. Board member items of interest?
I just had a quick question. I noticed that for the Lawrence loop in the CIP, there are a couple of years that have been zeroed out. I was just wondering why that occurred.
Okay. I'll let Mark explain that, but that's also a moving ever evolving conversation that we're having, but if you want to talk specifically about that.
Yeah, so if you recall this year, we tried to do the bigger $21 million grant. So what kind of came out of that is we need to do a whole corridor study in North Lawrence to get all the way from the airport to downtown. And a lot of the trail connections are going to be included in that corridor study. So some of the more recent plans, so the 24, 25, 26, kind of got pushed back a little bit to let that study happen. The MSO staff that are working on this feel like that study will enable us to apply for bigger grants or different types of grants to get the downtown section done. So that's the most difficult part is, do we go across the river? We stay on this side of the river? So you'll see the projects are in there, but they've been moved back to like 28, 29. I think that might be discussed a little bit tomorrow, that, you know, hey, you can still do this piece without the big scope thing. So a couple of the commissioners were kind of on that when we first showed the CIP. So I'm not sure where that'll land, but it'll be a conversation, I suspect. I think what I've heard most is that people said, hey, complete the downtown section anyway to connect the loop, and then talk
On this side of the river.
this side of the river, exactly. And then talk about, do we want to go across the river or wherever? So I think that'll come up, I'm guessing, tomorrow night. So the others, the one northwest is still in the plan, but it's in further out. So, but I think all of the sections of the loop are in the CIP. They're just pushed back further than they were originally.
Thank you.
I have a question, just kind of relates to the golf course presentation. Do we have a department goal or policy about maybe trying to reduce pesticides? And I know we had a volunteer program where people were weeding some of the parks, but, you know, I guess I'm not a golfer and I think of all the pesticides that are being used, and we're kind of like to think of ourselves as a progressive town. So I just wondered if there's maybe something afoot to try and rewrite, you know, how we're handling some of that.
So we're currently updating our integrated pest management policy, which talks specifically about that. It deals mostly with parks and high contact areas out in the parks.
Okay.
The golf course is also covered, but not necessarily as detailed, because that's growing turf in a much more artificial situation. Like Darren said, we're mowing it this tall. So it takes more chemicals to keep that active. What the IPM talks about most is the parks and where you will impact, and or parks that are pesticide free completely. So yes and no, but in the golf course, we look at the least toxic product we could use to achieve the results we're after. So it's being reviewed, and we always have a list of chemicals we're using, and we're pushing down to the least toxic possible. So I feel like we do a pretty aggressive job on, you know, not just picking the best thing in the world and going out and spraying it. We usually go, okay, yeah, that'd be great, but let's take it down a notch or two. So I feel pretty good about where we're at. We're much further along than most cities, counties, state departments. So.
I just had one more thing to throw out. I hired a young man who's interested in removing invasive species, and he suggested that the city hire some of the homeless to reduce, you know, honeysuckle and all that. I said, well, I don't know, you know, that involved paying them, but I just wanted to throw it out there. I think maybe we could, I don't know if that would have to be a volunteer program or what.
Right, seems like indentured labor.
Yeah.
Not sure I'm
I
keen
think
on.
the idea was they could learn a skill, but,
Whoa.
yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. Arts Division update.
Very short. Back to what Darren said, if you take what Darren said times 2, that's what the park divisions are doing. So same thing over here on this side of town, that Pat Hennessy runs this side. But what always impressed me in listening to Darren is that we have so much work that just goes to put the show on every day. So, I mean, before we even think about projects, before we think about anything else, is how much work do we have to do just to get the ball diamonds ready, the golf course ready, the medians mowed. It's pretty amazing that everything happens every day and you don't even think about it 7 days a week. So that's exciting to me. Pat on the other side of town has exactly the same level of challenges over there. But highlight things, Clinton Park, we completed the playground over there at Clinton Park. It's been about a year process. We got it up, we got it moving, it's open, now we closed it again. So somebody vandalized it over the weekend and took all the caps off the top of the poles, which makes it an unsafe playground. So it was good for about 4 days. But now we'll get those parts ordered. We've ordered a new gym floor cover for the sports pavilion, and it's actually in. That allows us to have a bigger, arts and crafts festivals, so we can cover more gyms, do more out there. So that's kind of fun. The Nature Center Pavilion, if you haven't been by there, it's completed. And we're basically doing site work now, so we've leveled it off. We'll be getting the concrete in, then we'll get the stones in. So hopefully by the end of the summer, it's ready to go. It was kind of funny because the KU students kind of just all left. So we had to finish the project. It worked okay.
It looks great.
It really does. I'm very happy with the way it turned out. I think they're up for some awards because that design's pretty incredible for a bunch of students to come up with and construct. We're ordering holiday lights for this holiday season. It seems like it's crazy, but it's July. It's time for the holiday lights. Tree grates downtown we're working on. You've probably seen we have multiple torn up spots. So we took old trees out. We have to cut the concrete out, take the stump out, put a new tree grate in, put a new tree in. So I think there's 16 of them downtown. If you see the construction fences all over. And then one thing this is breaking news right now, we're going to add 4 more pickleball courts out of the sports pavilions on the outside. So we're adding 2 more tennis courts into 4 more pickleball courts. So we've kind of done an analysis of who's using what, and it showed that pickleball was using those courts as much as tennis was. So we're going to take it to half and half. We'll see how that goes for us. I don't know if there'll be a backlash. We'll see. It's possible, but we'll still have 4 dedicated tennis courts and 8 pickleball courts that can be tennis courts also. So if we do a tennis tournament, we still have all 8 tennis courts, but we would have 8 pickleball courts to play.
Okay.
So anyway, that's all.
Porter, your update?
Just realizing I have a lot to report on, and I just remembered one other thing, so bear with me 1 second while I just... Okay, so the artist call for the 2025 Phoenix Awards is open through July 15th. So if you know any artists who might be interested in a pretty good opportunity to create the Phoenix Awards, 6 awards that'll be awarded through nominations next year. And we can send the link out when Roger sends out an email. I can get you these too. Just letting you know that we were involved in the Free State Festival with the Lawrence Music Alliance. And so we attended the session on the results of the Lawrence Music Census, which there's a lot to chew on, and we're all trying to figure that out. It's pretty amazing. And then after that, we had a panel titled Music in the Midwest, a Regional Ecosystem, which was really interesting to hear what folks are doing in Nashville and Tulsa, Oklahoma. And how they have actually offices dedicated just to music in those cities. And the woman from Nashville is doing amazing work, literally exporting their local music scene in a variety of ways and helping them out with professional development. So that's really exciting. Summerfest 2024 was a big success, except for a drone show that didn't take off that you've probably heard about. But I don't want to lose sight of it. I think it's really important. 1, kudos to my team, Roger, and Emma and Abby and Sanjana were all great. We had volunteers that were helpful from Douglas County Emergency Management, other staff that really helped us out tremendously. I don't have the pictures together yet, but it was one of the most diverse crowds I think I've ever seen anywhere. And what I mean, you name it, it was present. Really, really fabulous. The music was great and seemed to be very well received. The kids' play area was just amazing the whole time. We actually had to extend it an hour because it was just so popular. The food trucks, we had 11 food trucks, very, very popular. The craft fair was great, and we had music in the craft fair as well, which was really a nice combination. So other than the drone show, which we're still working out the details on that, but we will make that work as soon as we can, if not for next year. And so that was all great. And then Sister Cities Lawrence, this is exciting, is signing their agreement with Tocopilla, Chile on July 18th. It'll be done in the City Commission room with the mayor of Tocopilla on Zoom. So it'll be a joint signing with Mayor Littlejohn and Mayor Okapia-Chili. That'll be at 9:30 a.m. on July 18th. And then just one little thing, Audio Reader did a program with our outdoor downtown sculpture exhibition. So Nick Carswell actually followed us around with a boom mic, and they recently received they're recognized by the International Association of Audio Information Services for that presentation. So I was just really proud of that it was nice that they used an arts and culture event to help celebrate audio readers. So just good news on that one.
Thank you for questions before. Okay, Lindsay.
All right, and the recreation report, as you can tell, we have a lot going on. It's summer, we have a lot of camp, a lot of summer programs, so staff is doing great. We have an amazing staff and a lot of part-time camp counselors and lifeguards and things like that. So we are at full capacity. The one thing I did want to mention that I referenced earlier, we had a retirement in June. So Dwayne Peterson was our recreation facility supervisor, and he worked for us for 31 years. And so he retired in June, and we promoted from within. So Bobby Wilson, who was a sports programmer, is now our new rec facility supervisor. So congratulations to Bobby, and he's actually worked for us for 25 years. So well deserved. And it was a smooth transition, thankfully, and we have a lot to do, and he jumped right in and is doing great. So that's why his position is one of the vacant ones that we referenced with the budget process. So, and that's really it. I know we're over time, and I'm happy to.
Those programs and all the camps, and it just blows you away.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, I go out there at least 3 times a week, and it's like, oh my God.
Each one, they're all over
Yeah,
the place.
they're everywhere.
You get to see, it's great. It's like the senior center too, right, in the morning, Okay, let's see, do you have any?
I only have one thing, and this is tomorrow, July is Parks and Recreation Month, nationally recognized Parks and Recreation Month. So we have prepared a proclamation to be proclaimed tomorrow, received by John at the commission meeting tomorrow. So if you want to be there to celebrate alongside him and receive it alongside him, it comes pretty early in the agenda. So and the meeting's at 5:45. So shortly thereafter, you're please welcome.
It's dedicated to the budget. So that's the only, other than a consent agenda, the only the session is for the budget.
And that'll be after the proclamation.
Regular agenda item.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, good, okay.
And that is pretty much it. I mean, the staff has covered the rest of it, so.
Yeah, I have a couple of housekeeping items just because of the advisory board being dissolved after next month. If you want to be a part of the new advisory board, please, fill out another application. I know some of them just recently had done that, so you probably know where it is, but I'll go ahead and send that link out again to you all, as well as the link that Darren talked about to the Rotary Arboretum. The survey link for the swimming pool that's out on social media right now, I'll get that sent tonight because it is the 10th. So I'll go ahead and just send that separate because that's only a few days from now. So I want to make sure you have time to get that out. I'll send you the link to the budget on the agenda too, so you have all that information for tomorrow night too, if you don't know where that's located. And then his award, his design, the grant for the Phoenix Awards. Thank you. To be the designer of those. So I'll try to get those out by tomorrow morning early. So. Yeah.
So tomorrow night on their agenda, there's a study session, isn't there? Isn't it? It's going to be a public. They're going to talk about it in the public. Oh, okay. Okay, good. Okay.
I have a quick question about the dissolving of the board and the reconstituting. Just kind of sounds like a cooking thing. But so we're meeting next month. Is that the last meeting as this board?
As this board, yes, yeah.
And then a decision will have to be made, so.
Yeah, that's on the mayor.
Okay.
So he selects the people or actually the commission does. I think they all have
They're doing it different now, aren't they? Or
Yeah,
all
it's, they all get to nominate for different boards.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Covered a lot of territory.
Yes, that was.
Okay, is there a move to adjourn?
Marilyn Hall, I move we adjourn.
A second?
I second.
Okay, any objections? Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Andrea, online too. Thank you. Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
What that? Because I thought it was wonderful.